up, everybody? Welcome into another edition of Crush City Territory presented by Fox One. I'm Chandler Rome, joined by Tyler Stafford. And Tyler, before we get into the Astros, how much of the American League playoffs have you been keeping up with, especially the ALCS? This has turned into a really, really fun series between the Blue Jays / Astros, former Astros, and the Mariners.
Yeah, no, it's been awesome. I've enjoyed this series quite a bit. I've watched most of it. The whole family has been sick on and off all week. And a hard part about being a parent and getting sick is that there are other people in your house. So you don't get to just, be sick. And that's the only thing going on. But yeah, I've been watching a lot. I got the game on right now. It's about 8 p.m. Sunday night as we record this. Blue Jay just got out of a jam here with Cal Raleigh, got him to ground into a double play. But I hope this one goes 7. I love playoff baseball. They should keep playing it. I enjoy it.
Well, if it does go 7, you can always stream it on the Fox One app. As a reminder, this show is brought to you by Fox One. Fox One is now live. You can stream all of your Fox favorites together in one place, including every one of the remaining ALCS games and the upcoming World Series, which will pit the Dodgers, who just absolutely mauled the Brewers. Man, I don't know if the Brewers are fake good or if the Dodgers were just that much of a behemoth, but that was a mismatch on every level. But so it's been nice to have the Mariners and the Blue Jays give us, a real series to watch. And I know no one's going to want to hear this that's listening to this for Astros purposes, but that scene in Seattle when Eugenio Suarez hit that grand slam on Friday was, look, I get it. Like, Mariners fans can be difficult for Astros fans to deal with, but I'm just telling you, as someone that has seen a lot of games in that ballpark, as someone that has been there when that place is packed, there isn't a better atmosphere in the big leagues than T-Mobile Park when that team is good. And it made me happy to see that for a fan base that has not had that in a while.
Yeah. It was great. I watched, a million different angles. I watched the radio call. I watched the video of like them in the broadcast, just filming themselves in the broadcast booth doing so good. Again, it's for me as someone who's been an Astros fan my entire life, I do have a little bit of the perspective of 10 years ago, the Astros were just nobodies. And the worst place to be in as a fan base is when no one cares if you win or lose. Like, once you get to the point where people are upset at you, like that's good. Like, you want to be in a position where, like, you want Mariners fans to be upset with you. That's good. That means that you have been beating them in the division so much that they've grown up to hate you. Like, I couldn't stand the Cardinals growing up. They ruined my life. And now I don't care one way or the other about the St. Louis Cardinals because they're not particularly relevant or interesting. But at the time, oh my goodness, I hated every single one of those people. And any Cardinals fan, that was when it was all we're the best fans in baseball and all this nonsense.
That's still a thing.
Yeah, but it was more of a thing when they were good. And I couldn't stand those people. So, like, yeah, it's a badge of honor when a fan base does not like you. And the Mariners fan base disliking the Astros, I think, is a little better than like the Pirates, who just go like, boo, trash can, like whatever. Like, the Mariners hate the Astros because they beat their teeth in for a decade, not because they hit some trash cans. Like, that's one of the selling points of it. But it's more because they've watched them just slaughter the Mariners for a decade.
Well, the trash can banging probably aided a little bit in that.
Sure, but that's everybody.
I can imagine that they're probably mad for a lot of reasons, but yeah, look, it's been fun. Just if you strip away your you take off your whatever colored glasses you wear, just as a neutral observer of the sport, it is fun to see Seattle this revved up, and it's fun to see that ballpark alive. I'm going to quit talking before Astros fans tune us out. If you'd like to watch the Blue Jays maybe beat the Mariners and go to the World Series, you can, as always, do that on Fox 1. From MLB postseason to NFL to Fox on from NFL. Let me try that again.
Here it goes.
Let me try
you
that
got
again
it. Here we
to
go.
Make sure that
Run it back.
Let me make sure we keep this ad relationship strong. From MLB postseason to NFL on Fox to Big Noon Saturdays, with Fox 1, you get it all live. Start your 7-day free trial today. Offers are subject to change. Go to fox1.com for complete terms and conditions. Fox 1 streaming now, and if you're watching on YouTube, you can obviously scan that QR code. Start the free trial because it's pretty relevant because the World Series is going to start in a couple days. Game 7 of the ALCS could be tomorrow if the Blue Jays win tonight. We're going to stop talking about the playoffs that the Astros are not in, and we will center back on the Astros now. Hopefully you haven't abandoned us 6 minutes into this show. What we're going to talk about today is we're going to talk about 5 players that could not be back in 2026 for the Astros. And I want to bold, underline, underscore could. Just because there is a player that is mentioned when we talk today, that does not automatically mean they're not coming back. It's just these are the players that are going to be, on the trade block, on the non-tender line, and obviously the 2 free agents that the Astros have coming up in Victor Caratini and Framber Valdez. But real quick, before we get to that, we should probably talk about a player that will be with the Astros in 2026 now, a guy named Nate Pearson. The Astros jumped the market. They have a free agent signing. Nate Pearson has agreed to a $1.35 million 1-year deal with the Astros. It's pending a physical. I think the physical is taking place next week, so it's not official yet. Long story short, it's a low risk, high upside flyer. Nate Pearson was once viewed as, if not the best pitching prospect in baseball, certainly one of the top 3 or 4 pitching prospects in baseball. Was a first-round pick of the Blue Jays, coincidentally, when Dana Brown was involved in their draft process in 2017. He is a large human being, about 6'6", 250, can get the fastball up to 100, has some of the best extension in the big leagues. So automatically, the Astros are intrigued by that. But I don't want this to be his comparison, as I think it's unfair to him. But when you think of Nate Pearson, there's a lot of parallels to Forrest Whitley, of a guy that, has all the talent in the world. Like, it is all there. And that's what the Astros are betting on. They're betting on the talent. They're betting on just the God-given ability. But Nate Pearson's biggest problem in his entire career, and it's spanned the Blue Jays and the Cubs, he doesn't throw strikes. He has not thrown enough strikes. He's, I believe, thrown 14 wild pitches in the big leagues. He's walked like 75 guys in 150 innings. Still strikes out about 12 per 9 in the minor leagues. But Tyler, he came through the big leagues as a reliever, but the Astros are going to give him the opportunity to start, which I think is a smart decision by the Astros, who need as much rotation depth as they can get. And this is one of those things, Tyler, where if they get Nate Pearson in their pitching lab, their pitching infrastructure, and they turn him around, they get him in the strike zone, they do what they do with these guys, this could be one of those signings that you look back on as a real steal for the Astros.
Yeah, I think the Astros, obviously, everybody's going to dream on the ceiling of these guys. I do think it is apt to point out that everything you just said sounds exactly like Forrest Whitley, and the Astros had like 8 years to figure that out with Forrest Whitley, and that didn't happen. But look, we talked about that. One of the reasons why you trust Dana Brown in the position that he's in is his scouting background and the ability to kind of find, undervalued players and get the most out of them. And I think he's done that, or his front office has shown the ability to do that, especially with bullpen arms. We mentioned it, but most of the Astros bullpen last year, outside of Hader and Abreu, were comprised of guys that were just kind of scrap heap, people that the Astros found and turned into really good relievers. Jason Alexander this year turned into a really good pitcher for the Astros. Obviously, like Brandon Walter had a really great year before getting injured. So that, the Astros have been able to do this. It's interesting that they let this new guy off the streets come in with the starting rotation, and my boy AJ Blueball just gets thrown to the curb again. I don't hear anybody whining about how Nate Pearson can't get through a lineup twice. But good for him. I mean, look, we'll see if he comes into spring. Look, the other thing is he's going to come into spring training. He's going to throw a ball 99 miles an hour, and we're all going to go, what if he wins the Cy Young this year? Like, just wait. Just everybody pump the brakes. Like, no matter what happens, just let's all look up in May and decide how this is going. Nothing is going to look so different in the first few games of action that you're going to say, oh my goodness, they've unlocked, something here. Like he has incredible raw stuff. Yes. And so like, it's going to look good because everything that's why he's gotten to the big leagues despite walking every other hitter that he sees. Like it looks awesome when he throws pitches.
And the thing that the Astros can take solace in as well, if they bring him to camp and the starting thing doesn't work out, or if Nate Pearson gets, beaten out by other guys to be in the rotation to start the year, he's made a ton of relief appearances in the big leagues, and the stuff is tailored for a reliever. So there's probably a spot for him in the bullpen as well. So like, it's not one of these situations where it's a flyer, and if he doesn't make the team in spring training, then they're just going to discard him. Like, he can be a valuable piece, whether the rotation thing works out or whether, they see fit to put him in the bullpen. The stuff is real. The stuff is really, really real. Can get, like I said, get it up to 100. I think they're going to work a little bit on his slider. They want him to kind of fine tune that a little bit, but as always, I think you should always just put your inherent trust in Josh Miller, Bill Murphy, and the Astros pitching infrastructure to when they get their hands on someone. And I will say this: if we're going to keep invoking Forrest Whitley's name when we talk about Nate Pearson, it's worth noting that Forrest Whitley, who is now a member of the Tampa Bay Rays, he went to AAA with the Rays after the Astros DFA'd him and traded him to the Rays. He went to AAA. The Rays told him, you're going to be a starter. He made 12 starts with AAA Durham and had a 2.6 ERA in 55 innings, during which he struck out 66 batters. It's amazing what a change of scenery can do for you. And the Astros have to hope that Nate Pearson follows that track too, where, he's away from the Blue Jays where they drafted him and he had that prospect pedigree. He was a part of a deadline trade to the Cubs last season in 2024. Like, they acquired him to put him in their bullpen to be a big part of the bullpen. So he has had expectations on him everywhere he's been. Now he's coming to an Astros team where he's certainly not going to be the ace. He's not going to be the closer. He's not going to be the guy that everyone's looking at the minute they walk in the clubhouse. He can just be another guy. And maybe a change of scenery will help Nate Pearson, who becomes the first name of what should be an otherwise eventful and long Astros offseason. Among those that will probably not be back with the Astros in 2026, I think it begins and ends with Framber Valdez. Tyler, I'm not sure there's much we can say here because we've litigated this for days on end since, really maybe the cross-up controversy and then every day after. I do wonder, though, do you think fans, or do you think I think the team certainly understands, but do you think fans really grasp what they're going to miss with Framber Valdez? Like, how much they are going to miss his presence and how much they are going to miss the amount of innings and the durability that he has?
Yeah, I think that's the one that's hard to wrap your head around if you're not watching every game of a baseball. If you're popping in to watch the playoffs or, big series or whatever, and you see Framber struggle in one of those games, you're like, why is this guy valued so highly? But there is something to be said about just eating 200 innings every year. The baseball season is a slog. It is very difficult to get through. And as you saw this year, over the course of 162 games, one game can make the difference between making the playoffs and not. And when you have a guy in Framber who makes 32 of those starts every single year and goes 5 innings minimum every time, there is a lot of value there. Now, all that to say, I think everybody is probably okay with this relationship ending on just about every side of this. I hope he does really well wherever he ends up. I don't think that the way that the Astros are constructed currently, that would make, even if they wanted to pay him the money that he's going to ask for, like, I don't think the Astros are one starting pitcher away from being like, I don't think that's where you just put all your eggs in one basket of a starting pitcher like Framber. I think he's going to be really like, I don't want to say this, but think about a team like the Dodgers who have really, really good starters, but they all get injured and they can't make it through a season. Like, think about how valuable having a guy like Framber would be for a team like that, where like you've got a good team in place. You just have to make it through the season and try to control as much of that as you can. That's where he's going to be really valuable. But yeah, I don't think that people fully understand just what eating those innings means to a team.
Since 2021, so a span of 5 seasons. I had to do the math on my fingers. Since 2021, there have only been 4 pitchers in the big leagues that have thrown more innings than Framber Valdez. It's Logan Webb, Kevin Gausman, Jose Barrios, and Zach Wheeler. That's elite company. And among those guys, Framber has a 3.20 ERA. The only 2 guys with lower ERAs ahead of him are Logan Webb and Zach Wheeler. And Logan Webb's ERA is 3.19, and Framber's is 3.20. Look, for as tiresome as some of his antics can be, and for as exhausting as it can be sometimes to ride the ebbs and the flows of Framber, I really don't think that. I know the team realizes what they're going to miss in him. I think it's going to be one of those things that you don't know what you have until it's gone. I don't know. Was that in a song? I forgot. But it's going to be one of those things that I think next year in like June, when the Astros are in a stretch of like they've had starters go like 4 innings on 4 consecutive days, and they're like, oh man, like we've got Hunter Brown, but who the hell else is going to get us deep into a game? It should be noted that last season, Framber Valdez threw 192 innings. Hunter Brown threw 185 in the 3rd innings. The pitchers that threw the 3rd most innings on the Astros last year was a tie between Ryan Gusto, who is now in AAA for the Marlins, and Colton Gordon. Again, they're going to need to do a lot of things like what they did with Nate Pearson. Like, I'm not saying they got to go sign Dylan Cease and every top-end starter available, but they need as much reinforcements as they can just to backfill the innings that Framber Valdez threw for them. And that's not to even begin to say the quality of innings that Framber threw, but just to take down those innings and absorb that workload. But yeah,
I mean, think about what it means for the bullpen too.
Right.
Like
100%.
I mean, again, like obviously we understand, and the people who are listening to this get this a whole lot. We're more just talking about people who are like, oh yeah, I like the Astros. I know who Framber is. I would assume if you're listening to this, you probably have a pretty good understanding of what he does. But I mean, think about all the times this year where Abreu and Hader went back-to-back days, and then you go like, oh well, at least it's a Framber start, or they've had to throw the bullpen 10 innings in the last 2 days, and you can kind of rest thinking, okay, well, Framber is going to at least go 6 or 7, and you can kind of move things around and rest your bullpen, because again, like there's a huge difference between playoff baseball and getting through the regular season. And as we talked about, like even if the Astros have made the playoffs this year, I don't know how excited you would have been at the current state of where Framber was at, of him throwing 2 games in a series. But to throw 30 of them over the course of a year, like you take that every time. There's not a team in baseball that does not have a need for Framber.
And I'll take it one further that Joe Espada and Dusty Baker, they both managed games differently when they knew they had Framber Valdez the next day or 2 days from now. Like, you manage your bullpen different. Like, if you knew that you had Framber going on Thursday and you've got a starter on Wednesday that's like teetering in the 4th inning, you're like, all right, I can go get him. I can deploy my whole bullpen today because I got Framber tomorrow, and I know that, look, it may be a 3 or 4 runs, but he'll get me into the 7th inning, and I'll be able to shield this bullpen. It changes, it can change a series. Like, just having Framber's presence, like maybe the last game of a series, changes how Joe Espada and Dusty Baker before him, how they manage the first 2 games of that series. Like, so he means a whole lot more than I think he ever got credit for while he was here. And I know we're talking in past tense. Look, I have a very hard time believing Framber Valdez comes back. I think the only way it happens is if maybe it's a Bregman situation from last year where spring training starts, Framber Valdez has not found the place that, or the contract that he and his agents are seeking. And maybe the Astros, come back on a 2-year deal with a player opt out after the first year. Like, I think that's really the only way that this happens. And I think Framber's, even with everything else, I think Framber's gonna be in too high a demand. He's gonna
whatever the Astros would feel comfortable offering Framber, there are 15 other teams in baseball that would feel comfortable matching that or going above it. He's not coming back.
Yeah, other teams are much more desperate than the Astros.
That's what I'm saying, is like and other teams haven't watched him 30 times. Like the other teams don't have that same kind of, like you said, the baggage of watching him, whether it's fair or not. Like, they don't. All they see is the numbers. And like you just said, he throws more innings than everybody. He's got a lower ERA than everybody. Like, yeah, somebody's going to offer him a lot of money, and they're going to be correct to do so.
Yeah. But you never know. The winter can get weird.
No, I know. I'm correct.
Oh, you are, of course. I think someone that caught 3 of Framber Valdez's starts this year, Victor Caratini. I think
Salazar.
Well, let's not go there. He's not a free agent. Victor Caratini is a free agent, and he's going to be the focus of our DraftKings player spotlight. Tyler, it sounds weird because he's a backup catcher, and we've talked about kind of the renaissance he had and has had, and just the ability for him to do a lot of different things. Like, I wonder, like, I know there is mutual interest. There is mutual interest between the Astros and Victor Caratini in making something work. That doesn't mean it's going to happen. That doesn't mean that there are other teams that are going to be interested in Caratini who could say, look, I've posted for 2 years. Like, I think I deserve a bigger role. And maybe there's a team out there that's willing to give him maybe a more expanded role than the Astros are. But I wonder, like, you hate to say that your offseason priority is re-signing your backup catcher, but I think Victor Caratini, certainly, like, getting him back has to be within the top 2 or 3 priorities of the Astros this offseason.
100%. I didn't like that you put him on this list of Astros who may not be back next season.
May.
Well, listen, he may need to be back for the Astros. The Astros need Victor Caratini. He's been really good, and I mean, yeah, like, look, if he desperately wants to be a starter and do that, then by all means, like, go and do that. But if that is not his plan, and he just wants to be in a place where he's comfortable and had success and can legitimately compete for, a playoff spot, a World Series title, like those types of things, then, I mean, yeah, the Astros absolutely could use Victor Caratini back. He has been nothing if not consistent and a godsend for the Astros the past 2 seasons. He's played way more than I think either he or the Astros would have expected coming into that contract. But I mean, he's been good. He's had an above average OPS plus in both of his seasons with the Astros. He's been a good catcher. He's played a lot of first base, which is still funny to me that he's just good at first base. Like,
Good's a relative term.
I mean, he can pick it over there. He's making stuff. It's very funny that he's like, oh yeah, I can probably do that. Throw me down there, see what happens. Yeah, the Astros need him back for sure.
Yeah, and look, he's not someone that's never been an everyday catcher before. With the Padres in 2021, he caught about 80 games, which is about, I mean, he played in 101, but he caught about 80 games with the Padres in 21, which is about, an everyday catcher probably catches a little bit more, but suffice to say, he has caught on a more regular basis other points in his career than he did with the Astros. But it also brings up the question, like, did the Astros tailor their plan for him to the point where like they didn't overexpose him, to where they played him just enough to where the bat stayed where it was for the 2 years? And I think that's the biggest thing. Like when they signed Victor Caratini, they knew that he could provide, stability and provide just competence as a backup catcher. That's really all you need. You're going to play 2 days a week, go back there, call a good game, don't do anything egregious back there, and be, have some pulse at the plate. The bat exceeded every expectation that they could have had, to the point where he was hitting cleanup at points this year. He was DHing. They were DHing him with Yainer in the lineup, playing two catchers. His ability to pinch hit and come off the bench cold, that's not an easy thing to do, and he made it look easy. As far as money, he got, I mean, his first deal here was 2 for $12, so $6 million each year. I imagine he's not going to ask for a decrease in salary. He'll probably want a little bit more money, considering he just put together 2 of the best seasons he's ever had in his career. So maybe you're looking at something like, I don't know, 2 for 16, 2 for 18. I don't know. Do you want to pay a backup catcher $9 million? Again, or do you let another team do that? There's gonna be some fascinating questions to answer, but he's somebody that I think is gonna be hard to replace if they do let him go. Not from just the catching, like they can find a backup catcher. Like there's backup catchers everywhere. They can find one. But being able to come off the bench as a bat, being able to play first if you need him to, and he's a switch hitter. They were so right-handed this year that he was their only source of balance at times. Like he's probably the most difficult backup catcher to replace in the big leagues.
Yeah, I think especially considering who the Astros starting catcher is in Yainer Diaz, somebody who has struggled defensively and also, as we have seen, can get into very scary slumps at the plate. And then sometimes he can be just on fire and a great hitter. So it's not somebody that you necessarily want to go into a season assuming you're going to replace. Like the reason you have Yainer Diaz on your team is you hope that he can catch 100 games a year and be a really good hitter. That's why you're not going to get somebody else. But yeah, I mean, with the flaws that Yainer has, you need somebody who is not only a good defensive catcher, but also somebody that can provide stability, at the plate, standing next to the plate, not behind the, you know what I mean? Swinging a bat up there. So there's not a lot of those guys. There's not a lot of guys who are backup catchers who can hit and are also okay. They can catch as well. There's not a ton of those, and you already have one in the building. So keep that one here is my opinion.
I don't think DraftKings has odds for which backup catcher is going to sign where. In general, in free agency, when 29 other teams have a shot at you, I usually take the field. But this one, I think there's interest both ways. And I think it's something that they would like to get done. Not saying it's going to get done. I wouldn't put money on it because, again, I take the field. But it's something that the Astros are very interested in. They're very interested in getting Victor Caratini back because they know how hard it's going to be to replace him with anyone else, just with everything he does. So that may not be on DraftKings, but many other things will. The Texans play the Seahawks on Monday night. You can bet on how many times that CJ Stroud crosses midfield. It could be a great time. So as always, DraftKings has everything you need. Football is back, and so is your shot at big wins. With DraftKings Pick 6, the official daily fantasy partner of the NFL, your game day instincts can score you real money fast. Here's the play. Just pick more or less on 2 or more player stats and unlock the upside every snap brings. The better your calls, the bigger your payout. This season, play your player instincts. Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app now and use code FOUL. That's code FOUL. Play just $5, get $50 in Pick 6 bonus picks. Make the call, ride the upside. In partnership with DraftKings Pick 6, the crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 and over. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick 6 not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. One per new customer. Bonus awarded as non-withdrawable Pick 6 bonus picks that expire in 14 days. Limited time offer. See terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos.
I'm not going to let somebody whose team just got beat by a bunch of nerds in Nashville come on here and talk smack about the Texans. You take it back.
If there's anyone listening to this that, I don't know, has funny money and donates it to Oklahoma State football or Arkansas even, we got a lot of listeners from a lot of different parts. Maybe you have funny money in Arkansas and you want to give that to the football program. Penn State even. I know there's some Penn Staters out there that like this pod. If you've got funny money, and you have an head coaching vacancy at your football program, can I interest you in the winningest active college football coach who is 63? He's charming. Grew up in Boston, from New England, has all the charm and the humility that you.
Well, he has that thick Cajun accent too.
Of course, right. You know, a can't miss guy. Once played for a national championship. You cannot take that away from him. If any of you have any interest in college football's all-time winningest active coach, please let me know. I'll put you in touch with some people that can put your football program to another level. Maybe not on a catwalk, but on another level. Those two were the easy ones, right? If we're going to talk just 5 people, we're going to say more than 5 names. I think another easy one, unfortunately for fans that grew attached to him, I don't think Chas McCormick's back. I think that's pretty obvious. I think his ARB number's around $4 million, according to MLB trade rumors. We talked earlier about Nate Pearson. Maybe a change of scenery could help. I think Chas McCormick is a ideal change of scenery candidate.
I mean, even if he were free, the Astros don't have a spot for him. Like it has nothing to do with the ARB. I mean, it does a little bit, obviously, but I mean, again, even if you were paying him and the 8 other outfielders the exact same amount of money, you would not have a spot for Chas McCormick. I mean, we didn't talk about it a lot in the last episode. You know, we talked about Zach Cole and Cam Smith, obviously, but Zach DeZenzo is going to be back next year as well. Like, Chas just doesn't have a spot, and boy, do I hope he can go somewhere and do one of the little rollovery swings and hit a little looping liner into left field. Play some good defense, but I don't think that it will be with the Astros.
Yeah, the interesting thing about Chas will be, is he just a straight non-tender, or, look, teams have always liked his offensive profile. Like, teams have called about Chas McCormick basically at every deadline that he had any sort of value. Chas was asked about at a lot of trade deadlines because he's got an offensive profile that suits a lot of ballparks. There's one in the Bronx that I'm thinking about, that that short porch in right field. He's got the opposite field power. He has value. There is value for him on the open market. Maybe another team thinks, again, change of scenery thing, we can get him in here, clear his head, and he fits the ballpark. We could do that. I just wonder, though, his value at this point is so low. It's so depressed that I don't know that they could get anything. Again, getting something's better than nothing. So maybe they do trade him just for cash, or for take a flyer on a prospect, see what happens, or if he's just a straight non-tender, I'm not sure. But either way, do not believe Chas McCormick will be with the Astros or in the organization in 2026. Another one, it's a little more of not a slam dunk, but Jesus Sanchez, just given what happened, given how he performed here after coming over at the deadline, his ARB number is going to be around $6.5 million, according to MLB trade rumors. That one is a money thing, especially with, I think this is where Zach Cole and Jacob Melton and all these guys start coming into focus is Zach Cole and Jacob Melton are both left-handed hitting outfielders with a ton of speed that are going to make the league minimum next year. And it's, do you think you can recreate what Jesus Sanchez theoretically could give you by using guys that are cost controlled? And I will say with Jesus Sanchez, he has a lot of value. Like, I know you never saw it here. I get it. If you watched him for 2 months with the Astros, no, you do not think he has value. He has value. I think that's one that he could get thrown into a trade. He could get worked. He could get traded somewhere. And the Astros, I'm not saying they're going to get a king's ransom in return, but they'll get something in return for him. So I think that one's, again, like, none of these are sure things. I think Chaz is close to a sure thing. I wouldn't say Jesus Sanchez is a slam dunk sure thing, but I fail to see where he fits, especially after the impression he made after the deadline.
Yeah, you mentioned trying to recreate Jesus Sanchez. I think you might be able to do it with just one of those, windmills at a putt-putt golf course, just up there. Yeah, I don't see him anywhere near the Astros. I do agree with you that someone will want him. And Chaz too, look, he was a 3.5 win player in 2023. Like, he was very good for the Astros in 2023. I know that we know that somewhere in the back of our heads, but it's been a couple years. So it's hard to remember that, like, he was legitimately a really good player for the Astros. And yeah, I mean, he obviously has not been the past couple years, but Jesus Sanchez has been a good player for all of his career outside of what we just saw for 2 months with the Astros. Someone will want to take a flyer on him, and we'll see. But again, with the current construction, I don't see either one of those guys coming back.
Here come the more kind of difficult decisions that the Astros are going to have. One of these guys is not coming back, and it's going to be Mauricio Dubón or Ramon Urias, just because they're redundant players. And again, we're going to go to the ARB numbers. When you look at what they are both expected to get in arbitration from MLB trade rumors, it's nearing a combined $10 million between the two of them. And I'm not sure the Astros have the appetite to sink $10 million into two guys that are not going to play every day and that are utility players. Now,
you also have Bryce Matthews.
Sure.
Even if you don't believe in him yet, like, you don't want to have 3 second basemen in front of Bryce Matthews.
And who knows what's going to happen with Jose Altuve this year, where he's going to play defensively. If he even plays any at second base, that cuts into these guys' playing time as well. Tyler, if you had to choose, if you're Dana Brown, who do you choose?
Dubón.
You choose Dubón to be on the team?
Yeah, for sure.
Why?
Vibes.
Okay.
DJ. I don't know. I mean, they're the same, like you said, they're the same guy. Everybody likes Dubón. I think sometimes in baseball, sometimes you can overthink things a little bit, and over the course of 160 games, sometimes you can unlock something in a guy and they can become superstars. Sometimes you got two guys that are basically doing the same thing, and one of them everybody on the team already likes. Just keep that guy. You don't have to overthink this. They're gonna more or less do the same thing. And if things fall apart, then you can just go get Ramon Urias later on. Neither one of them are so good that they're going to be locked up in their team and unavailable. You can find somebody. So keep the one that everybody likes already. Not to say that people did not like Ramon Urias, that people may love him. I don't know. But clearly Dubón has become somebody that is very important to the Astros clubhouse. And I do think that there is value in that is not shown in a stat sheet. I think there is legitimate value in trying to keep a core together the best that you can, that gets along, as long as it's not falling apart or toxic or whatever. Like, if it's people who like being there, they like each other, they have a good attitude, keep those people around. Vlad just hit another bomb. It's 5-0 Blue Jays now.
You can stream Game 7 tomorrow on Fox 1. I think what's going to help Dubón, what helps his candidacy here is he can play the outfield. They were
Yeah.
they were reticent to play. I don't think Ramon Urias has ever played the outfield at the big league level. They didn't want to try it with him when he got over here. I think Dubon is just that much more versatile. That I mean, they can use him in the outfield. They can use him in left field if they have catastrophe happen like this past year. He can play center field. He's a good center fielder. Like Urias is probably the better upside bat. But you would hope that if you're counting on your utility players to like raise the floor of your lineup, then like you're missing the point. Like if you need to raise the floor of your lineup, like go make better moves for more impact than just saying, oh, we want our utility guy to be a better offensive player than his counterpart. So I tend to agree with you. I think that Dubon would be my choice. That'd be if I'm in charge and I got to pick one or the other. But I mean, who knows? Like if Dubon's got some value out on the that's what I think is going to be fascinating about all this. Like what they should do, they should dangle all these guys in trades. Like you should say, oh, all these guys are available. And then you see what you get and you take the best package, right? Like I don't think there's a discernible, like it's not as if between Dubon and Urias, there's like one player that is demonstrably better than the other one. Like it's not as if like the gap between the two is that wide that you have to pick one. So I mean, if I were in charge, I would say, look, like we're willing to get rid of both of them. Like, let me see what I can like go through the permutation, see what you get, and you take the package that you like if you're trying to trade them. And if the package that you like just so happens to be for Dubon, then all right, like Ramon Urias is not a bad fallback plan. He's not a bad, but I think again, asking me to pick one, I'd probably side with you and say Dubon. I didn't have him down originally. I don't have him as one of the banner people, but what about Jake Meyers?
He's staying. Right.
I tend to think so too, but
they don't have another center fielder. I mean, they don't have one that they trust opening day. You might be able to trade Jake Meyers at the deadline next year, but you can't this offseason.
I tend to agree.
Who would you trust in center field opening day?
Right. It would only be if you've got insane faith in Zach Cole or Jacob Melton, which I do not believe they have. I think they like both players. I don't think they think they're ready to be everyday.
You can trade when that becomes apparent, but
right.
Yeah, you don't need to do it now.
Right. And the last one or the last, debate to have is going to be one that I think is going to drag for a while. And it's Christian Walker, Isaac Paredes. I think we'll know a little by the tender deadline on November 21st because Isaac Paredes is arbitration eligible. And he actually is arbitration eligible next year too. So he has 2 more years of team control, which means his value is very, very high. We've already talked about this a lot. If the goal is to get money off the books, then it's Walker, but I'm not sure how much another team is going to eat of the contract, even though he was better in the second half. I'm not sure how many teams are going to jump at paying 2 years, $40 million for a 36-year-old first baseman. Isaac Paredes, if you trade Isaac Paredes, you could probably get a ton back for him. I'm not talking like Kyle Tucker Hall, obviously, but like you get a nice package back for Isaac Paredes, who is coveted by a lot of teams, who is going to make around $10 million, which is not nothing, but it's for what he's going to provide you. It's a pretty good salary. And he's versatile. He can play first base, can play third base. I guess if a team wants to try him at second base, go right ahead. That's not going to, if they do choose that they need to explore getting Paredes off, that's not going to be a non-tender situation. That's going to be you tender him a contract and then you try to work a trade somewhere. But I really don't know. I'll say this from just like a reporting perspective. I don't think the Astros know yet either. I think they're in the part of the offseason right now where like they're having preliminary conversations about like, hey, this is like what we're thinking. We're not fully committed to it, but like this is where we're leaning. And I'll be brutally honest, I don't know where they're leaning. I have no idea. But I know they've had discussions about just like, here's what we think, here's what we want to do. My gut tells me that because of how limited their lineup was this year. And because of the traits that doomed their lineup this year, I think they're going to try to keep Isaac Paredes on the team. I don't think you can give away everything that you want the lineup to be is housed inside of Isaac Paredes. Like, you want them to be patient. You want them to foul pitches off. You want them to be selective. He's not a perfect hitter. He's not a perfect offensive player, but he embodies everything that they want this lineup to be. I find it hard to believe that they would discard him if, they didn't. And if they did, I think they would have, plans to bring guys in of his ilk. But he seems to like it here. The ballpark's perfect for him. He had a great year before he tore his hamstring. My gut would tell me that if they're choosing between these two guys, they would choose Paredes over Walker, but I don't think that's a slam dunk.
Yeah, and the Astros are also not forced to get rid of one of these two before opening day. I mean, they just aren't. Like, things happen.
Yeah.
Things happen over the offseason. People get injured. You could trade other people around. Like, there's no rule that says like you have to get rid of one of these guys before opening day. I think those things shake out throughout the season anyway. And I mean, as we saw last year, like people get hurt all the time, and you move people around, and there's no reason to rush into getting rid of trading Christian Walker at the bottom of his value, or trading a guy that you really like in Isaac Paredes, which, even as good as Paredes is, when you say a haul coming back, like, yes, it's going to be a couple of good players, but you're not getting like a top prospect.
You would get a major league ready player.
Correct.
And you would probably get a mid-level prospect. That is totally that is not informed information. That is me just totally just off the top of my head thinking.
Right, but you already have a major league ready player in Isaac Paredes. Right. So my point is, like, the haul that you get back for him is essentially replacing Paredes on your roster, and then hoping that this prospect is like okay. Like, are you that excited about this? Is, like you said, this isn't Kyle Tucker where you're going to get a top pick and Isaac Paredes, or like that.
And
that's not what.
And Hayden Wesneski, who has absolutely value, by the way.
Yeah, but like yes, the Astros need pitching. You could certainly see a scenario where if you could trade Paredes for 2 starting pitchers at the major league level, like that would fit their team better. But I mean, to me, I think you just first off try to see if you can play second base, try to see what happens in this offseason, move other people that you can. I don't think this has to be your top priority that you have to build around. I think the rest of the roster will make itself clear. And if you get to April and you're like, what are we going to do with this guy? Isaac Paredes is still going to have the same amount of value as he does right now. Like, he's not going to become forgotten about just because it's opening day. That's my thought anyway, with people like this, where it's, again, you're not building a team around Isaac Paredes. He's a very nice piece to have, but you don't have to like alter your entire roster to figure out where to put him. You'll figure it out. Christian Walker could also just be so bad that you're like, fine, play Isaac Paredes at first base and just dump Christian. It doesn't make, you'll figure it out. It will become clear throughout the season. And I think if anything, we have learned that one of the most surefire ways to be a good baseball team in the current state of MLB is to have 35 major league ready players in your organization, and you're going to have to use them all anyway at some point. Like, this is not a league anymore that you just skate by with the 25. You're going to need to have a lot of these guys on there, and you already have them on your team now.
2 things you just said that I want to emphasize and maybe expound upon a little bit. First of all, you never know what's going to happen when you get to spring training. Teams keep in touch with players all through the winter. They check in on them. They get videos. Until you lay your eyes on someone, you never know what you're going to get until you get to Florida or Arizona. I say that to mean, like, they could, like, another team could get to spring training and their first baseman could show up and say, hey, I was hitting this off season and something in my elbow just didn't feel right. My trainer said it was all right. And they send him for an MRI and like he has Giancarlo Stanton tennis elbow and he can't hit for 6 months. And then Christian Walker, Isaac Paredes becomes a lot more in demand. And the Astros can, hold them captive basically because they have all the leverage. Like if these teams get to spring training and they need a first baseman or they need an infielder, like, so there is validity to what you said that like, they don't have to make the decision by the tender deadline on November 21st or by the winter meetings in December or like the day pitchers and catchers report. So, I mean, you saw it, was it 2 years ago with the Astros when they were, when Jim Crane was trying to get him to sign Blake Snell in spring training after Urquidy blew out? Like, and I mean, it happens all the time. Like things happen in spring training or things happen when teams report to spring training and that sends teams back onto the market. So keep that in mind too. And then the other thing you said is they obviously need pitching. I think all these questions we're asking of like who's gone, who's not, it has to revolve around, because Dana Brown said at their end of season news conference that they were going to be in the trade market for a starting pitcher. I don't know why he felt it necessary to specify the trade market, but the fact that he said it would lead me to believe that they are going to be scouring the trade market for a starting pitcher. If they identify a starting pitcher or two that they like a lot, that they think they can either help or that has established himself to where he doesn't need help, he can just be a plug and play guy, that should determine who they pick. Because I think if the 2026 Astros are going anywhere, it's going to be, they're going to need the lineup to respond, obviously, but like they're going to have to replace Framber and they're going to have to get some more reassurance and depth behind Hunter Brown, Christian Javier, and maybe Spencer Arrighetti, depending on how his elbow is.
You're forgetting one.
Oh, AJ Blueball.
Mm-hmm.
I think that should be the determinant. Like, look, if you like the starting pitcher that is if you've got a deal for a starting pitcher that you really like and they want Isaac Paredes, then you know what? Like, you can find players to recreate Isaac Paredes in the aggregate. I think that has to be front of mind too, because like we can talk about salaries and payroll, and look, Jim Crane's going to want them to be under the luxury tax by the time the season starts. That's always his MO. Is if he's going to go over, it'll be at the deadline when he sees where the team is and whether they have a legitimate shot at a playoff spot. He'll do it, but before the year, he's going to want them away from the luxury tax. So they're going to have to shed some payroll. They're going to have to get some money off the books. But I think first and foremost should be, if they're talking about trading anyone, is it for a starting pitcher? Is it the pitcher you like? And if you like him, to me, look, there are a couple guys, obviously, you're not going to move. But these people we're talking about that we've talked about for the past 50 minutes, like at that point, it's like you pick the pitcher. You pick the pitcher you want. You pick the pitcher you have access to, and you deal with the lineup later.
Yeah, I think that's true. I also don't know that I want to be trading for a pitcher in November and December. Just wait until it comes back to spring training, because like you said, things can happen all the time. I do want to say I'm on early best shape of my life watch for Christian Walker for spring training. I'm calling it now. That's going to be, I mean, of course everyone comes in best shape of their life, but I'm going with it now that's going to be, you're going to write a story that's like Christian Walker lost 15 pounds and put on muscle and he's in the best shape of his life. That's happening.
I'll refute that, and you can maybe speak on authority to this. Christian Walker had his first kid in August, and so he has an off season of being a dad for the first time ever. Does that put weight on you, or does that get weight off of you?
Oh, I think you get dad strength. I think you get stronger. You also get a lot of early and late walks in, trying to let mom sleep while you take the kids for a walk. Your arms, I mean, he's probably not going to notice carrying around 15 pounds all the time, but as someone who does not attend a gym regularly, let me tell you, I was like, hey, check me out. I'm walking around with this bowling ball with me all the time. Like I feel like I'm getting stronger over here. So yeah, that makes it even, I'm doubling down on this for sure, coming in best shape of his life. Because the other thing is, you go insane the first few months of having a child, and all you can do is try to get out of the house for an hour. And I would assume, again, not a gym guy, but I would assume going to the gym for an hour is probably a great excuse to get out of the house for an hour while your kid is screaming. So best shape of his life. It's coming. So everybody, Dana Brown needs to wait on the Christian Walker trade talks until Chandler puts out his story, and then you pump it after that.
If you're insane, or if you go to the gym, you would love Crush City Territory Shop. We have gym bags, we have backpacks, we have water bottles, we have hats, we have notebooks, we have hoodies, we have anything you would want for anyone that goes to the gym. For anyone that considers themselves insane, if you like coffee, we have a Crush City Territory coffee mugs. If you're on the YouTube stream, you can scan the QR code to go to the website, or you can just shop crushcityterritoryshop.com. That's crushcityterritoryshop.com. Buy some merch, get outfitted out. Josh Reddick's even wearing Crush City Territory gear now, which means it's cool. So everyone else should do the same. We will be back this coming week to maybe talk about the World Series between Canada and the U.S. or Seattle and the U.S. Who knows? We'll be back this week to talk about the World Series, talk about whatever happens in Astro World. Until then, you can follow me on X at Chandler_Rome. You can follow Tyler at Tyler C. Stafford. As always, please rate and review us on Apple and Spotify. You can subscribe to the Crush City Territory YouTube channel so you can get notified anytime we go live for a new video or anytime we post a new pod. Like I said, we'll be back next week to talk more about the Astros offseason and the playoffs and the World Series at large. Until then, thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you later.
Aggies are 7-0. Bye.